Hey guys, back again with a Palmetto State Armory PA10. This is the 308 version. I did not do the 6.5 as many asked me to, wanted to guide me into that simply due to the availability of ammunition. It's a little more expensive than 308, and so I decided to stay with Old Faithful. I just wanted to go over a few things with you and then get a range report. I've got 5 different types of ammunition that I want to shoot and go over those groups and that sort of thing. But first, let's take a look at the Palmetto State PA10. I've changed the brake out. The brake obviously was just a standard bird cage. This is a flash hider made by Curtis Tactical that I will be shooting this suppressed. So I have shot the gun. I've shot it unsuppressed and suppressed. Unsuppressed, it groups a little better than it does suppressed, so I would say it's a 1 MOA gun, that 1 inch there at 100 yards. Everything that I've shot from 150 grain all the way to 175 match has been fine, out to 100 yards. That's as far as I've shot it so far. So the brake for me is quite loud without the suppressor. That's another reason why I will not be shooting it without the suppressor on it. Again, I've lost a little bit of accuracy, but I'm willing to live with that. The handguard I really like. I'm not sure that they make it. It's stamped with Palmetto State, but here on the top it just looks like the M-lock. You've got a little bit of Picatinny here and a small amount in the back. It's really nice, so when you are holding the gun, there's no rough edges whatsoever, so that's really nice. It's got 3 retaining bolts here, nuts, we all know they're bolts. 3 retaining bolts here to keep this handguard nice and tight. And it also has what I've never seen before. It looks like some type of little alignment key there on both sides, and it's got a maybe a set screw there in the top. So they've done everything they can to keep this handrail here where it's supposed to be. The barrel is 416R stainless, which from my understanding is very good stainless steel for accuracy. It is laser engraved Palmetto State 1 in 10. Again, I don't know if they make these barrels, if these are outsourced. I'm not sure. It seems to turn everything that I've shot, again, 150 to 175 really well. It likes one particular 150 grain, and then the 168 Federal match equally as well. The upper and lower receiver is the 7075 forged. The really cool thing that I thought was this looks like it's milled. So this trigger guard usually you only see in billet aluminum, which there's pros and cons to both. I get it, whatever. But the fit and finish to both the upper and the lower is very good. It's got very little play. Kept the Geissele trigger in it, which is very good. They call it a 2-stage. It's, to me, just a really good single-stage trigger, but they call that first stage the take-up stage, an actual stage of the trigger, whatever. Phase 5 bolt release. I like this on all of my guns. To me, that's just something I like. It does not have a overly flared mag well. Again, I don't care, whatever. This is not a gun that I would think you would use to, kick in doors and clear houses with. It's 18-inch barrel. There's much better options for doing that if that's what you want to do. The charging handle is just a basic charging handle. All I did was I bought a little, I think it's Yankee Heel, just their little extended charging handle tab on it. I was not going to spend another $100 on a charging handle. This works just fine. Most of the time I never grab it with 2 fingers anyway. It's always just a one-hand manipulation, and this works fine. I changed the grip out. I wanted something just a little bigger. The original grip that it came with, there's nothing wrong with it. Rubbery, much better. I say much better. It's better than the factory that you normally get, the hard plastic GI grip. I like the mag pull. It does not fit the curvature of the lower receiver. There's a little gap there. Again, I don't care. I'm not running and gunning, jumping in the mud and all that crap, so I'm not concerned about this. I will tell you this, I was very surprised when I pulled the original grip off. There are two springs. There's one spring that you normally see that holds the detent, but there's also an additional spring. I don't know what it does. I couldn't figure it out, but I left it in there. Be aware. Moving on, and the last but not least is the stock. So the original stock that's on it's just a nice collapsible stock, but it kept pulling hair out of my chinny chin chin. It was not comfortable. I let it do that 2 or 3 times, and I was like, you know, I want something in this type of gun that I can immediately bring to my shoulder. My eye relief is set, and I'm ready to shoot. I don't care about having to adjust. It's not a red dot. This is a Mark IV loophole, so this is set. I wanted this also in the set position with all of the adjustments that it has to offer. So that's the PRS stock. It is just has like an M-lock, little slots on the bottom. It does not have the pick rail molded into it like the one of old. I was a little surprised, a little disappointed, but again, whatever. My only real gripe about the gun is the adjustable gas block. There's no way of knowing where it's at in its rotation. What I mean by that is there's supposed to be 5 different settings. Thankfully, I spun it several times, which would have gone well past the 5 marks, and it does not stop. It just continues to revolve. Well, there's no numbers, marks, or anything else that I can see that would let you know settings 1 through 5. There's nothing in the book. Thankfully, I somewhat remembered where the original setting was. I left it there. It functions just fine whether I'm shooting suppressed or unsuppressed. So really, it's a small gripe, but that's really the only gripe I've got. For what you pay for these compared to what other guys who have 308 semi-auto versions that I've talked to, they're not getting any better accuracy than I am without changing to a Criterion barrel or some other, you know, fancy barrel. Something that's pretty well standard. Even Wilson Combat is not getting much better accuracy than what I'm getting out of this. So for the money, I feel like it's a stellar deal. If you have the ability to shoot one, shoot one. What I'm going to do is go ahead and run through some more groups, and then we're also going to show some ejection patterns. It's a fairly soft shooting gun, so it doesn't just beat you up. Nothing like my 300 Weatherby Mag did, of course, but the ejection pattern is very good on it. It's very strong, so there's nothing that just dribbles out. I mean, it's going to throw it probably 3 to 4 feet, so that's very good, I think. And again, it doesn't have a crazy amount of recoil. So we're going to get to shooting, and I'm going to get those results rolled in just in a second. Thank you. Well, we are able to come back to the range and shoot a few rounds, give you an idea of the accuracy that I'm getting from the Palmetto State PA10. I've got 4 different types of ammunition. I've actually shot 5 out of it, but I did not bring the 175, the Federal match, just because they seem to open up a little more, and I didn't want to burn through $2 a round. I've got Federal 308, 150 grain. I've got the Winchester 150 grain, the Norma 150 grain, and then the Federal 168 Federal Gold match. Accuracy, I wanted something that I could pick up any round basically that I could find. I didn't want to have to shoot just match ammunition in order to get quality hits. I was getting a little bit of mirage. As you can imagine, I'm shooting fairly consistent strings of fire, and the suppressor started to give off quite a bit of heat, and I was obviously picking that up through the loophole. This is a Bowers suppressor cover. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but the design behind it is very nice. It has ridges inside so that as you slide it on the suppressor, it can still breathe. So I was cautioned by someone at the gun store that you didn't want a suppressor cover that was really going to hold the heat in. It needed to dissipate, otherwise it might hold more heat and the barrel and accuracy degrade more. I don't know. This seems, it's just a silicone type material. They say it won't melt. Again, it's not the prettiest thing, but to slide it on the suppressor, if nothing else, on the way home, so it doesn't set anything on fire in the vehicle, primarily my skin. All right, let's talk about accuracy and what we got. Let me start down here. This is the last group that I fired. These two groups here. This is both Norma, the 150 grain Norma that I fired the last two. That's probably really close to an inch, I would guess. Maybe just a hair beyond an inch. And that is probably closer to an inch and a half just by looking. This here is actually the Winchester. I messed up. So this is actually the Winchester 150 grain. Again, probably a little more than an inch. And then this is the Federal match. And so there's two in the same hole here. I have no idea what happened there. So the gun, combination of both, is quite possible. This is the Federal, not the Winchester, but that's the Federal 150 there. So again, a little over an inch. And then another group of Norma earlier, it was a little over an inch. I was trying to get this a little more dialed in and zeroed for hunting situations. So my final impressions of the Palmetto State Armory AR-10. For what it is, what it cost, I think it's still a deal. It's not the most accurate thing out there. I will tell you, I have shot the gun without the suppressor, and the groups are not as large as they were. So I can't really blame the accuracy that you see on the gun itself. Again, a lot of it has to do with me. I'm not the best shooter anymore. My eyes they're just not as good. And the suppressor obviously is going to add a little different harmonic to the barrel. So, you know, I think it's just fine. And again, it's a good deal for the money that you're going to spend on one. And then as you begin to accessorize it, instead of spending, you know, $1,500, $1,600 on maybe an Aero Precision or, you know, Wilson Combat, $2,500 and more, that sort of thing, you can build this gun and it can do, I would think, 95% of everything that the common guy is going to want to do out in the field. If you don't mind, if you would subscribe to the channel, my producer would be real happy with me for asking you to do that. And I also want to give a shout out to my little sister in Mississippi. I hope you're doing good. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the video. And I hope to have some more shooting very soon. I'm really excited. So stay tuned.